Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Short Story Long. This week, we are sitting down with Eddie Huang. Eddie Huang is a friend of mine and also a massive inspiration to me. He's one of the types of friends that I like to surround myself with that is constantly working, has done a million things in his life, and is still insanely hungry, is funny, is just incredible to be around, and I was very excited to have him on this show. One thing that Eddie and I talked about, which you'll hear us talk about in the podcast, is sometimes you're around people a lot that, you think are really inspiring, cool, driven, motivated people, but you don't actually sit and ask them their story or what they've really been through or where they came from. And that's what is really cool about this podcast for me, is I'm able to sit down and do that. So that's what I did this week with Eddie Huang. I think you guys are going to love it. He's a great storyteller, and this is another great episode.
The hardest part is figuring out what you want to master.
Focus on your product.
Can you tell somebody that they suck?
You gotta just go, this is exactly what I want to do for a living.
You can't even tell somebody that their breath is life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Short Story Long. We are here today with a friend and the homie, and a guy with just an incredible story that I'm excited to get into. We were talking before we started about how you get to know people, they become your boys, but you don't it's not like we're gonna sit when I go have lunch with you and be like, so man, tell me about your childhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is my excuse to do that. So I'm really excited to get into it, man. Thanks for making this happen.
Thanks, man. No, I mean I don't even know if you know it, but you and Rob are two of the first people I met in LA.
Really?
Because I moved here.
I remember when you would come to the house and stuff.
Yeah. I moved here when y'all were neighbors.
Yep.
And then I was working on Snack Off with Rob, and he had me come to the pool party. I was like, holy shit, this is really some entourage shit going on. Y'all were living life.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, and I didn't think about it from the outside perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you showed up, we were just like, damn, this guy's dope. And he's like, man, Eddie's so sick. He's done this, that, whatever. He's crazy. And then, but I didn't think about how we must have looked.
I came and I was looking in the garage, and in New York, we don't really follow cars because we just take the train.
Yeah.
And I remember you had the Panamera, and I was like, oh shit, what is this thing? This looked like a fucking Cadillac SUV that's a Porsche.
Yep.
And Rob's like, oh, that's just a rental.
Yeah.
Drama's got the fucking ghost in the shop. I'm like, what? And I was like, yo, this MTV bread is crazy.
Damn, I didn't even think about that, man. That was real life entourage.
Yeah, no, it was fly, man.
That was a real sweet spot of time for me because we were neighbors. And when I was young, I always used to say that, when I was working for him and stuff, I always used to say that I didn't want to be his assistant or whatever. I wanted to be his neighbor one day. I just wanted to be his homie. Yeah. And so that was really before he met his now wife, that was a year span of time where we were literally 100 feet from each other and we were just living.
Yo, I remember I came and I went to that one pool party and I was like, yo, I'm going to be like fucking Saigon and Entourage. And I'm peeping game. And then he meets wifey 2 months later.
Yep. And it was over.
And it was a wrap.
A wrap.
It was a wrap. I was like, because I didn't know you well enough to hit you
yo. Yeah.
Hold
I
me
wish
down.
you would have. Because I had another 6 months in me. You know what I mean? I went a little bit longer and then
Yeah. And then I did my thing and I moved to Malibu. I was living on that cliff.
Yeah.
But that was too isolated. I was like,
I
should
don't know if
have
I
moved
could
near
do
you.
that. Malibu's so beautiful, and I feel would be so relaxing, but you're just out there.
Yeah, it was some monk shit. I finished my book out there. I wrote a screenplay out there. It was really good for work to just be isolated. But after a certain time, I was like, I need to get back into civilization. I need a basketball court within 20 minutes of me.
Yeah. Is that when you went downtown?
Yeah.
Do you like downtown?
I love it. I
Really?
love it because I can walk everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't have to get in a car every day. We mob Mrs. Winston's, the salad bar. We're there a lot. The Whole Foods, taco trucks are great downtown.
Yeah.
So it's it feels like a mini New York. And my favorite part about downtown is that I think it's a lot less segregated than the rest of LA. In a lot of LA, you go to certain neighborhoods and it's literally everyone in that neighborhood is kind of a specific type of person. In downtown, there's a lot more collision of culture, and you can't avoid certain socioeconomic brackets, from homeless to really, really rich that
Yeah.
lives in the Ritz-Carlton,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so I enjoy it a lot. I live in a building with a lot of like post-college graduates.
Really?
And I'm there just because it's got a basketball court in it.
Yeah.
So I play ball with the kids, and
That's
I
sick.
like it, man.
Do you spend way more time here now than New York? You don't, are you in New
Yeah.
York?
Just the crib. I got a crib with the illegal renovation in Brooklyn that
What's
I
that
bought
mean?
like 2 years ago. So I bought it 2 years because it was a good deal, and you know how I love a good deal.
Yep.
And the person had built like an illegal second floor in it. So when they sold it, I got it at a discount, but I had to like fix the second floor.
Like take it out?
We have to like basically take it out and build a new second floor.
Got it.
And I was like, yo, this will be fly. I'll be in here in like 6 months. And obviously with construction, 6 months becomes a year, becomes 18. It's now like 30 months.
Yep.
I bought this crib. I've never lived in it. My mom and
Really?
dad posted up in it for a while. They just dropped a mattress on the floor and lived there for a month.
It's amazing.
But yeah, like I'm just waiting for that to be built and I can move home.
Yeah.
You
Is
know?
that your plan? Like, are you more of a New York guy, like, at the heart?
Yeah, I love New York, man. I need to be on the train. I need to be walking. I like for things to collide and hit me.
Yeah.
You know, I like to be forced into like adapting and changing. I think in LA, it's a place like you can set up shop and have life your way, like on some Burger King shit.
Yeah.
And you don't have to adapt as much. And I like the challenge of New York. I like the diversity of it.
Yep.
The one thing I would miss a lot is my basketball team in LA. Like I've found the group of guys that is my favorite dudes to play ball with ever in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm 36 and this is like my squad.
Man, you're about to get drafted back to New York.
Yeah. So I
Get
mean,
traded.
yeah, I was like, if I get the bread of, you know, we get amazing this season too.
Sure.
I would fly back just to ball with. I would fly back Saturday, ball with them Sunday, go home Monday.
Yeah.
Cause like, I just love basketball.
Yeah.
You know?
And I see you've been like working out and boxing and
Yeah.
all sorts of shit.
Yeah, like I mean, I was doing Wong's World, love Wong's World, obviously, and like I love food, but when you do a food travel show, you're eating 3 to 6 meals a day
Yeah.
on the road.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Okay, and it's decadent food, right? Because I'm not, you know, I got to do one episode of health food in LA,
Yeah,
and
that
so I
was
was
it.
healthy that episode. That's it. Other, you know, the cats don't want to see like a health food episode,
Yeah, that's true.
and so I got way out of shape. And my producer's mom, Rita Lavin, actually saw me and was like, Dave, who's my producer, you need to send Eddie to Buckinger. Like, he needs to fast. She's like, he needs like medical treatment. He looks bad. His face looks gray. Because he would
Really?
send her photos. And yeah, I was looking dusty. It was just like my liver, everything was, it's too much.
Yeah. How long
Like-
ago was that?
It was January 2017. I went to this Buckinger place,
Yeah.
lost 8 pounds in 1 week, fasting for 5 days. And then
What's Buckinger?
Buckinger is like, it's a doctor's name,
Uh-huh.
and they started it in Germany and they got one in Spain, but you go and under like medical supervision, they do all these tests on you, check out your body, you know, and you fast. So for 5 days, I didn't eat food, and you can also regenerate. It's the only way to like regenerate stem cells naturally
Yeah.
is to fast for, I think it's at least if you 3 days no food,
Yeah.
you start to regenerate stem cells. And yo, it was amazing, man. Like as a dude whose job was to like promote food culture,
Yeah.
I really promote fasting now.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like we're overfed society.
Yeah.
And so I felt a huge change. I felt my stomach literally shrink, and I changed the way I eat. I changed the way I view food. I changed my relationship with food, and I appreciate it as culture, but it's not a drug. Like
Yeah.
I was using that shit like a drug.
Yeah.
You
And was
know?
that like your whole life? Like you went through healthy phases, or did it build up to that moment kind of?
You know, when I thought about it, and you know, wifey was a huge part of it, right? So my fiance was a huge part of me getting healthy because she started noticing too. Yo, you eat food when you stress and you act out and you like hurt your body like rebelliously,
Yeah.
you know, because like when I'm mad or something, I'm like, I'm gonna go fuck up a steak,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I was using it as this like thing, like
Yeah.
an outlet,
Yeah.
you know.
That's crazy. And so that thing, that treatment, you feel like kind of just shocked you into this like new Eddie?
Yeah.
And then now you're boxing and fuck, you're killing
Yeah.
it now.
And it's about like being cognizant too,
Yeah.
right? It's about being cognizant of like your stress, how you deal with it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, all right, don't go eat, don't go drink, don't go smoke, don't go like, deal with your stress in the club. Like, go shoot hoops downstairs.
Yeah.
Or go hit the heavy bag.
Yeah.
Or go for a walk. And like, I'm trying to do more productive things.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back to the beginning. You're a New York guy at heart. When did you didn't grow up in New York, right?
No, I was born it's complicated because like the hospital was actually in Northern Virginia, but like my parents were in Silver Springs, Maryland.
Got it.
Lived in Silver Springs, Maryland. I think like the second week I was born, we were in this little house. We got broken into. Someone tried to break into the crib, so then my parents, got some bread from my grandpa, helped on a down payment, moved us to Northern Virginia.
Was that like a bad area?
Silver Springs at the time, I think, was a rough area.
Got it. And can I ask you this too? Because obviously
it wasn't like super rough, but cats were trying to break into the
yeah, I mean, that's bad enough.
Yeah.
Because it'll come up later with some of the projects you did. Your parents are from where?
My parents are from Taiwan.
Got it. And how long did they live here before you were born?
Oh, maybe 4 years.
Really?
So yeah, they were only in this country like 4 years when I was born, and had me, and we just kind of grew up as like fobs together here. And that's why sometimes I identify as an immigrant. I identify myself as fresh off the boat, and like other people would be like, "Yo, you're not technically fresh off the boat." I'm like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't live in my house growing up. You didn't see what it was. Like, we didn't speak English.
Yeah.
And all of this culture outside. Like, I remember going to school, like, you're a kid, and they'd play, like, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington in class, right? And all the kids are like, oh, I've seen this. I'm like, I've never seen it. I don't even know where to get this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what Jimmy Stewart was. I didn't know, like, any of this stuff. Like, my mom learned how to speak English watching I Love Lucy,
Why did they
crazy
move
shit.
here?
Well, just opportunity. My dad was just like, my dad was constantly in trouble. He was like a street dude in Taiwan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, his brothers were very accomplished. Like my grandfather on my father's side was in the government, right? But it was the government in China, and they lost the civil war in China. So they fled to Taiwan.
Got it.
And, even my mom, like her side of the family, dude, like they were on the last ship out, like shipwrecked onto the shore of Taiwan, like had to find all the kids.
Yeah.
And it was tough, man. Yeah. And I think everybody in that generation was trying at some point to come to America for opportunity.
Yeah.
It was they saw it as just a golden mountain.
Yeah, I just have so much respect for that because I moved to LA from Ohio for opportunity. You know what I mean? And like to literally, and that was scary.
Yeah.
But to really make like a real move to a totally different culture, not knowing anything, no plan, what you're gonna do, like just going for it and raising a family is so nuts.
Yo, it's crazy, man. Like when we go back to DC, my mom will drive us by the Mexican restaurant she worked at when she first came to America as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's like, yo, I was a busser here because I couldn't really speak English. And she's like, yo, I remember just sitting there at night, like refilling all the ketchup bottles, cleaning all the tables.
Yeah.
And like, I came to America for this, And like,
so nuts.
When I see the restaurant she worked in, I see the steak and ale my dad worked in. It's like, it's crazy. And I would always say to myself, like, I have no choice but to succeed in this country and to make them proud, and like to make my ancestors proud because they just sacrificed too much.
They did, man. And I think that like that's a really interesting thing that comes up in some of these conversations with people whose families came here or whatever. It's like you feel this like duty to succeed. You know what I mean? It's not even like a question. Like you can't be lazy. It's not even in your DNA. Like you have this like obligation. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is, think about them coming here from there, knowing nothing, not knowing what they're going to do, nothing. And then how far in one generation you've already came, right? Being so like I mean, you're doing TV shows, you're writing books, like everyone loves you, you're out and about, you know what I mean? Like you're in no way like new here. You know what I mean? Like everyone, and I think that's really crazy how much one family generation can make such a leap. You know what I mean? It's crazy to look at.
Yeah. No, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's totally insane. I mean, my grandpa on my mom's side, that family, dog, they were just selling bread on blankets on the street in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Before they got into the textile business because of dudes, the family that worked at this textile factory, like on some downtown LA shit, they just stopped showing up to work in his textile factory. And he would buy bread from my mom's father, like every day on the way to work. And he said, yo, I like the way you and your family work. Your bread is consistent. You guys are always here. Do you want a job in the textile factory? And they dropped the bread and they just went and worked in there. Like that's literally one generation.
Yeah.
You know?
It's insane. It's crazy to look at. Like think about the difference of what your kid's life will be compared to even your parents, right? Like that one jump that you made is going to be so massive.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, right, is like I see a lot of my friends, they're putting their kids in private school and it's like a big thing to get in a private school.
Yep.
Like I kind of like if I have kids, I want them to be in public school.
I battle with that too.
Yeah.
Because I'm from like Ohio public school. Like, I don't know. I just have met so many like LA private school kids that are just screwed.
Yeah. Nah.
I don't know how you, I don't know the right answer. Because also when you're a parent and you're like protective, you know, you want the best. That's just a hard issue.
Yeah. It's the thing too is I think when you're young, that's the time to eat shit. That's the time to learn a lot of things. And it's almost like when you go to public school, you just learn some different shit about the world. You see a different type of pain and you can't
you
run
need that
from it.
later.
You can't
you
run
need
from
that
it.
education later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than the people that I've met that like have been protected their whole lives.
Yeah.
And then you get into the real world and everything is so unfair. And it's just like, what is happening to me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, my parents, like, they did, like, my 9th grade year, my dad became a millionaire. Like,
Really?
it was crazy because we were all separated until I was like 10, and then my dad was working in restaurants, got lucky with a lease, opened a restaurant in Orlando, Florida, and was like, yo, y'all can move down to be with me now. Because him and my mom were like he just went on his own way for like 6 to 8 months or something. I remember 2nd grade was just rough, man, because it was like just me, my 2 brothers, and my mom. I was like 9, my brother was 6, my other brother was 3. And like my mom would go down to see my dad, and my aunt would just like come watch us, but she wouldn't cook no food. So it was just, we just ate. If she came, we just knew we're like, fuck, we're gonna eat Domino's pizza for a whole week, you know?
Yeah.
And I just remember Domino's pizza boxes stacked. The whole crib smelled like terrible Domino's pizza cheese.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, when is my dad coming home?
That's funny.
And we ended up moving down. We lived out of this Homewood Suites, like long-term stay hotel for like a few weeks when we first moved to Orlando, next to the restaurant. Then we moved to like this townhouse. So it was like pretty rough. But like, you know, in 9th grade, my dad, you know, finally, like, we got this crib and like he was really successful. We moved into this gated community. I was like, holy shit, this is weird, man.
Yeah.
So the gift is for me is that I got to see both sides. I got to see being super broke in America. I got to go back to Taiwan to see where my parents came from. And I also got to see like the gated community. And one of the things that I found really interesting and has informed like everything about me as a human being to this day is that the way people flipped. Once my dad had money, the way people treated us that knew he had money was totally different. But then when I was just a Chinaman, like going to the Subway or going to the Blockbuster, they still treated me like this broke little Chinaman because I still dressed the way I dressed. I was always a hip hop head. And I remember like in Orlando in the 90s, it wasn't that cool, man. Like kids were into Green Day and Nirvana. They were not like, it was me and one other Indian kid were Wu-Tang heads at my school.
That's amazing.
You know,
it's amazing that it was you and the Indian guy.
Yeah,
you know,
there's me and this one Indian
holding it
dude.
down for Wu-Tang.
Yeah, and then I remember like I got to go to public school in 9th grade because my parents would save all their bread so we could go to these like Christian Baptist private schools. It was terrible. And when I went to 9th grade public school, Dr. Phillips, it was amazing because it was a jungle. 4,000 kids bussed in from all over. And I was like, word, like, this is America.
And you liked that?
I loved it.
Really?
I mean, cats were trying to beat me up all the time.
And you
like
loved
when I first came, I loved it.
Fuck.
Because I was like, this is some real shit. And at least at public school, if a kid had a problem with you, he would say it to your face.
Yeah.
Like the private school is just like, just people would just not talk to you. You're invisible to them.
Yeah.
And you're just not invited to any birthday parties. They don't see you. You're an invisible person.
Yeah.
And I remember moving to the gated community was interesting because all of a sudden, now cats wanted to talk to us and they want to be friends. And I was like, this is weird, man. 'Cause you hated me. I remember you hated me.
Yeah,
like
before you had a gate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like there was a kid in the neighborhood that I went to the same private school as him, would never talk to me in school. Then we were in the same neighborhood. Oh, what's up, man? We should hang out.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm still gonna
Isn't that
snuff you one
true?
day.
That's still true today as adults, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that's the lesson still applies. It's just
Yeah.
crazy to me. Like, what do you think drew you to the more chaotic, like, lifestyle? You think that's just you? Like, you think you just thrive in that environment more than in the comfort of? I just feel like most young people, right, sort of gravitate towards the comfort, and then maybe wish later in life that they hadn't. But in the moment, they go for comfort. Like the fact that at that age you knew to be drawn to such like a hostile environment or a growing environment is pretty insane.
Yeah, for me, what it is that like I just saw a lot of bad. There was a lot of pain in my life early on. Like my grandfather committed suicide when I was 6. My grandfather committed suicide, and my brother was born in the like same, I believe, same week or same month.
Jesus.
It was like a lot. It was a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember like my mom obviously just had a baby, barely could deal with all of it. You
Yeah.
know, and my brother Evan had just been born, and then I think like a week later, my grandfather committed suicide. He had pancreas cancer. He just didn't want to do it
Got
anymore.
Got it.
You know, and then I remember like riding in the hearse to like the cemetery and just being like, he's gone.
Yeah.
You know, and that moment has always defined like my life. You know, and like
In what way? Like, made you stronger? Made you like afraid of that happening? Made you, you know what I'm saying?
just the fragility,
Mm-hmm.
like that it can be gone. Like somebody you love that means so much to you, like the patriarch of the whole. Like my grandpa was a man.
Yeah.
Like we would all go to his house. He had 6 kids. You know, their 6 kids all got married and had their kids. It'd be like 50 Chinese people in this one house. You know, he would always eat first. We always waited on him. It was like some Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah.
You know, because like we brought that old culture to America.
Yeah.
Like that's how our family was run. Every Sunday, the whole family, 50 Chinese people, we're going to pull up on grandpa's house. We're going to have dinner here. We're going to pay him respect.
Yeah.
And when he was gone, it was like, yo, where's the purpose in life?
Yeah.
And I think that like that fragility and the recognition that like somebody can be taken from you like that or take themselves from you like that, like really, really hurt. And then I realized like how important every day is and to like do something with my life to make him proud. And I think about him a lot.
Yeah.
Like I don't pray to God. I thank the universe for things. I ask for things, but I talk to my grandparents.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so that, I know I'm like rambling.
No,
but that moment really made me think. And then like shortly after, like 2 years later, that's when my dad moved to Orlando by himself. And so it's like I lost my grandpa, I lost my father for a few months. And like as a kid, you know, the parents kept telling me, we're going to get back together with dad. We're going to get back together with dad. But like when my dad left and like he wasn't coming back home, I started freaking out, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
You just don't know at that age.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't trust anything. You know, it's just not trust, but it's just like, I don't know, anything's possible. Anyone could just be gone.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And so like when people would be like, your dad's okay, everything's going to be fine. And then like in a funny way, we were kind of kicked out of the family because there was just some weird business shit. Like the family used to all work together in this furniture business. And my dad was my grandfather's right-hand man. But like after my grandpa passed, like everybody was fighting over everything. And my dad was the one to be like, yo, I'm gonna go do my own thing. I love everybody, but I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yep.
And a lot of the aunts and uncles were really upset that he moved to Orlando.
Yep.
And so Orlando became this thing for me.
Yeah.
Like it took my dad, my cousins are mad, I'm gonna lose my cousins. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it was crazy. I was ripped from my whole family.
Yeah.
And we didn't really talk after that. And like I looked like my role model growing up was like my cousin Alan. Like our older cousin Alan, I always looked up to him. I
Why
thought he was the
him?
coolest. Well, he had the Chronic CD first.
Yep, that'll do it.
He had the Onyx shit. I remember he had this like, this is so stupid. He had this like color encyclopedia of animals. And I would go to his crib just to read that book all the time.
Yep.
And we would play Tecmo Super Bowl. He would beat me at everything. And he was funny.
Yeah.
He just snapped on everybody. He had like the most jokes.
Yeah.
And like he had a flat top with a fade.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm gonna get a flat top with the fade and then like comb it with the wax. And so I just looked up to him.
Yeah.
And he played football.
Yeah. How much older than you was he?
He was 4 years older than me.
Got it.
And like he had a girlfriend in elementary school, and like for
That's
a
big.
Chinaman, like having a girlfriend was like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what
Even
I mean?
anyone at that age, like your first like homie or anyone you know with a girlfriend, you're like, whoa,
Whoa.
this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this though. How do you think that if this ties in, because the topic of why you preferred the chaotic life or the realness led into all that, right? So do you think that like it was that lack of purpose or that lost feeling that made you crave realness more? Or like how did that?
No, what it was, it's a really good question. Like, because you're leading me to it. So I want you to know it isn't necessarily that, but it's very close. And what it is that when like really painful, real things happen to you, when you're put in like a private school environment or a church environment or like a gated community environment, you're like, this is fake.
Yeah.
This is fake.
That's so true.
Like, you're not safe. Like, this whole gate in these big houses, I'm like, yo, you're trying to make me feel safe, but we're not safe because grandpa died in a big house.
Yeah.
Do you like, and
that's-
that
yeah,
sounds
it's
crazy,
interesting.
right?
That's why it relates to me to like, you know, the rich, not to keep harping on these people, but like the young rich people, like rich kids, how a lot of times they have the most problems because everything around them is so manufactured.
They are trying to hang on to this feeling of safe and secure, but it does not exist in this world.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I want to embrace. Like, so I was like, yo, I'm going to be in the fucking jungle school and like, I'm going to make my friends. I'm going to build my like community.
Yeah.
And like, all I got in this world is like on some, like my balls in my word.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
like me and my friends, we just rode for each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, to have community is what I started to like really believe in.
Yep.
And just real friendships, real relationships, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I felt like when you're dealing with people that have a lot to lose, a lot of their energy goes towards protecting that and keeping that. And they're not as revealing and they're not as like open and they don't need people as much to they'll build a big house, they'll build a gate.
Yep.
When you don't have anything, you need people.
Yeah.
And so
That's interesting, man.
yeah.
That's a really interesting like perspective. And like the clarity on it all is really dope. You know?
Yeah.
So what about like, were you, when you were younger, so did you move to, how old were you when you moved to Orlando?
I was 9 or 10. I'd have to check, but it's 9 or 10.
Yeah, yeah. And that was essentially DC to Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when did you get into
Technically, Northern Virginia. I was like Oakton, Virginia to Orlando because people get tight sometimes. But it's DMV, it's Northern Virginia. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's funny. That's like a DMV issue
Yeah.
that I don't relate to, but I know you got to protect it.
Yeah.
I guess my question is like, you ended up getting so into like hip hop culture.
Yeah.
When did that start? And was that a pretty big jump from like being so your family's culture into now all of a sudden you're embracing this whole other thing? Like, did your family, were they like, Eddie, is everything okay? Like, what's a Wu-Tang?
Yeah. No, the thing for me is that like, and this is a question that used to like drive me crazy because to me it just made sense. But I can understand now the older I get, the more people I meet that like, it was a weird thing for a Taiwanese Chinese kid, like 9 years old, to gravitate towards hip hop like this.
Well, let me just say too, just because you've heard the question a bunch. Like for me, it's not even about like Taiwanese or Chinese. It's that your family was so, like you said, you were pretty much fresh off the boat, even though you weren't.
Yeah.
So your family was so this way, and then you said, well, wait a minute, there's this other world out here that I really like. I'm gonna go out on my own and like explore it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm fascinated.
No,
by.
yeah. So for me, the thing is that there was not much that I related to in American mainstream culture. I remember I loved the Thundercats. I love Michael Jackson. But I remember the first time I heard like my cousin played The Chronic and you just hear that like cell door on with Dre Day.
Yeah.
And you know, people don't expect it with me, but like I grew up in a house with a lot of violence. Like a lot of violence. And like I don't know if I like really want to like talk about all of that today on the podcast, but like I grew up in a house with a lot of domestic violence, like from all parties.
Yep.
Right. And there was like a lot of physical punishment. And there were also guns in the house, you know, because like my dad was from Taiwan and that's just how cats protected themselves. Like my mom grew up in a time in Taiwan where like she let her dog out one time and it came back because a homeless person had hooked the leg out of the dog, like hooked the dog meat out of the leg to eat it
So it came
because
back
they were
with no
so
leg?
broke. Yeah, it came back with a piece of its leg just missing. And so like
Oh.
when you grow up in a place in a time where people are that broke,
Yep.
you're gonna protect yourself,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So, when I saw other families on TV, they're not like my families.
Yep.
I remember me and my dad would love Al Bundy because he was just like such an anti-American like guy or like anti-hero, and he cracked us up, so we liked him.
Yeah.
But besides like Al Bundy, the closest thing to what I was seeing in my house was hip hop.
Yeah.
And I remember like, storytellers, Snoop, Tupac, all these things, and like just the family relationships, the tough stories, the Dear Mama stuff. And it was the only thing that spoke to me.
Yep.
Because I was carrying these experiences and this pain around with nobody to talk to, and I just listened to the music. And I was also weird. I read Shakespeare.
That's
Like I loved reading Shakespeare.
That's just the epitome of like how you grew into who you are now, right? I
Yeah.
just see you like listen to Wu-Tang, reading Shakespeare, and now you're like the adult version of that, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the thing with Wu-Tang was like, that was one of the first times I ever felt proud to be Chinese, because everyone just made fun of us growing up. But when I heard them sampling like Shaw Brothers films and Kung Fu movies, I was like, oh shit, they fuck with us.
Yeah.
Like, yo, like somebody thinks we're cool.
Yeah, that's dope.
And I remember The Last Dragon, like Barry Gordy, The Last Dragon.
Yeah.
And it was like, that movie, Bruce Leroy, I thought Bruce Leroy was so ill because I was like, word, like there's like intersectionality. Like even as a young kid, I knew to care about intersectionality.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't know the term, I was just like, yo, this is fly. Like we're both others in this country. We're both different. But like, the people in this film fuck with our culture and I fuck with their culture.
Yeah.
And it was just a thing where I saw more of myself in this community and art form than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
get that.
basketball. Like basketball is huge for me.
Really?
Mhm.
Why, you just love it? You just have always loved it?
Basketball was one of those things where like I felt like I could win. Not because I was good at basketball, but because there were rules. And when I looked at America, I was like, I think this game is rigged. Just like life in this country is a bit rigged.
Yeah.
But I was like, we can win in sports.
Yeah.
And I saw people like Allen Iverson win in sports. DC dude, he's not from Georgetown.
Yeah.
He's from Newport News, I believe. But like when I saw him come through in 6th grade, I was just like, yo, if a dude like this can win on the court, like, then I want to go win on the court.
Yeah. That's amazing. Was there any pushback from your family, like, or just bad vibes, or like, what are you doing, Eddie? Like, what's all this other stuff you're off to? Like, listening to rap and playing basketball and like, where?
Yeah, the thing is that my dad is such a non-traditional Asian American dad. Like, when I went back to Taiwan, I remember there was a Dan Dan noodle dude. Dan Dan noodles is like a big thing in Taiwan, and it's different than Szechuan Dan Dan noodles. But this noodle guy, we went to go see him, and my dad's like, this is my favorite noodle in my life. Like, he would always try to recreate it in America, like buy the chicken stock, make the chicken stock. I mean, he would buy the chicken, make the chicken stock, the pork, everything. But it was, when we went back to Taiwan, my dad's like, all right, you know that Dan Dan noodles I always make at home? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is the real thing. I don't have the ingredients to make what he makes, so you are going to get the real thing today. So I remember walking out, and I remember this vividly because the Jordan Aqua 8s had just dropped, and I was trying to get him to buy me a bootleg pair of the Aqua 8s in this alleyway, because all these stores in the alleyway had bootleg Aqua 8s. I was like, Dad, just hold me down, like, get me a pair. He would not get me a pair. He's like, I'm going to get you this bowl of noodles.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck these noodles, man. Like, I just want a pair of shoes. And we sit down, we eat the noodles. Exquisite.
Really?
Exquisite. One of the best bites of food I've ever had. Just on a rope, everything balanced. You could taste like the body from the pork, the marrow of the chicken bones, and then like the way that like peanuts played with it, and just a little bit of chili oil. Like, incredible.
Yeah.
Like, did so much with so little. My dad goes to the bathroom. And when my dad goes to the bathroom, this old man is like about 70 years old, turns to me and is like, I don't know if your dad told you, but this was his block. And I was like, what? He's like, your dad protected everybody on this block. And I was like, that's crazy.
And he didn't say anything about it.
My dad would tell little stories,
Yeah.
but it was that dude that was just like, whatever anybody tells you, he's like, this is your dad's block.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. That block is also the same block the original Ding Tai Fung, like soup dumpling place, was built on. Like, that's my dad's block.
Yeah.
And so I would meet these dudes, and they're like, nah, man, like, your dad was that dude.
Yeah.
His parents sent him to America, though.
That's crazy.
You know?
God damn, that's so dope. It's just so
Yeah.
cool. Like, I feel like at such a young age, like, all of these experiences had to show you that, like, you can do anything, you can accomplish anything. Like, you saw a lot of, I just compare it to my childhood, which was very, like, Ohio and sort of in a pretty small radius, right? And so I think that, like, the idea that you were capable of doing much more than what the people around you were was kind of outlandish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you were able to see, like, okay, well, I can do anything with this world. You know, is that how you felt, or?
You know, the way that I felt was, because your original question was about if my parents were like, thought
Yeah.
the hip hop thing was weird, right?
Yeah.
And the thing with my dad was that he never really related to the stereotypes of what Asian Americans were supposed to be here.
Yeah.
He was like, that's not really me either. Like, he had like a little band called Southside he would play, like I think bass in. He loved singing. He loved the Bee Gees. He had a Jerry curl. Like, my dad was just not like anybody else.
Yeah.
So when his son grew up to be like a weirdo kid that dressed the way he dressed and listened to music he listened to, like, my mom would complain. She would go, what is up with all the plastic clothes? She would keep saying, 塑胶衣服, plastic clothes, meaning like the basketball jerseys and football jerseys I bought. She's like, your whole closet is plastic clothes. And she's like, she would yell at my dad, being like, you have this stupid son listening to this music with these plastic clothes, and it's your fault. He's like you. And my dad's like, yeah, what did you expect?
Yeah.
You know, like, of course this kid was going to turn out this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
So it wasn't that, like, there was no, like, real pushback. Just kind of like, oh, what's he doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but and then your second question,
Yep.
you were saying like the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was possibilities, but when I went back to Taiwan and I saw what my dad came from and I saw the respect he got from people in his neighborhood, I was like, I have something to live up to.
Yeah.
And I also have a duty to everybody here that is working so hard that did not get to come to America.
Yeah.
And like when I was 12 and the Aqua 8s dropped and I went back to Taiwan, that was the lesson I came back with, and I never forgot. It was like, fuck everything else, fuck everything that's happened in your life.
Yeah.
You have no excuses. Like, you at least got to be in this country,
Yeah.
and you have to succeed.
Yeah.
You know?
That's nuts. It's just so interesting, man. And then when you were younger, you were getting into trouble and stuff too, a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think that I know, not even think that, man, I just was very ineffective with the way I rebelled. Like, I think I did a lot of stuff because I was angry. I did a lot of stuff because I thought it was unfair, and I thought I was being productive. But like, I wish I could take a lot of it back. You know, I wish I could take back some of my like Twitter outbursts.
Really?
You know, yeah. Just because it's like the older you get, you realize getting people hyped and angry or like being really reactionary, like that's no good for nobody, man.
Yeah.
And like, we don't got to argue about like smaller, pettier things. Like, just rise above, like, be the best version of yourself you can.
Yeah.
And
I will say though, you only know that, and people only want to hear that from you right now because you've done it, right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to hear from the guy has all the right answers but has never faced the challenges. You know what I mean? It's the guy who's been like pressed, had to deal with that anger, lashed out and said, yo, that's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? So like, had it not been for just going through it and doing it, you just are smart enough to come out on the positive side, as opposed to some people follow that all the way into like a deep, dark hole. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I think when you're a kid, you just got to get those shots off. Like, you have a lot of angst. Like, it's not the easiest thing to grow up.
Yeah.
So you rebel against things, and it's natural. But I think I'm 36 now.
Yeah.
And so I need to mature. I need to like become a better dude, you know? And one of the things, like, we talk about private school and gated communities. I always go back and read the story of Buddha. And like, I actually really love the Herman Hesse Siddhartha book. But
I
like,
just bought that. I haven't read it yet.
oh, it's a classic.
Yeah.
But the story of Buddha, like in the like actual text, he was a wealthy dude. He's a wealthy dude behind a wall, behind a gate, and then he never went beyond the gate. And one day he goes beyond and he sees all the suffering in the world. And he's like, yo, I can't turn a blind eye to this now. And I think that's one of the important things in today's society. Like, I really hope that I don't want people to just sit there and be sad about all the suffering, but like, yo, like, let's not live cut off from this. Like, let's always be cognizant of this. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing, let's be cognizant that there is suffering going on.
And the thought that it's all a whole, right? Not to get too deep into like that stuff, but like it's all one thing. Like, you can't be separate from it. You can't truly live behind your gate forever. And like, it's all part of the whole thing. So trying to just separate yourself or be better than other people or do that stuff is a dead end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even if it's just like you're having, like, I was in Trinidad on a boat with my good friend, like Trini Chris. I saw some dolphins. I jumped in the water. I swam with them. And I remember my first feeling getting out was, man, I'm really blessed. Like, thank you. Like, not everybody gets to do this. Sure, like maybe a shark or a dolphin would have eaten me. I don't know.
At least you would have been grateful while it was happening.
But I remember in that moment recently, I was just like, yo, man, like, I'm really grateful. Regardless, whatever happens in my business or life or whatever, it's just like, yo, like, to have a moment like this, like, you're pretty blessed. And I think all of us, like, have a moment that you can be like, yo, I feel blessed. And you know, I have a friend, like this dude I play basketball with is a really good friend of mine, Farnold. And like, you know, Farnold, like over the last year that I've known him, like there's been some tough times. He's been dealt some really bad hands. But every time I play ball with him, he always is like, yo, man, I'm really blessed. God has blessed me, you know, and I don't necessarily believe in God, but I respect him so much because I look at some of the like things that happen to Farnold. I'm like, yo, that's fucked up the way that dude treated you, or that's messed up what happened to you here, man. And he's like, nah, man, I'm really blessed. I'm really lucky to even like have the cards that I have.
Yeah, that awareness and like that level of, it's something I'm working on too, but like being able to have that level of gratitude through like anything, you know what I mean? Because it really is the only way out. You know, if you let it get you and get bitter, you're screwed. You're done. You know?
And we all get bitter, man. Sometimes we all get mad. I mean, I got mad this morning over some silly shit, but it's just like, you know, you have to pull yourself out of it and have some perspective. And look at how far we've come. You know, you from Dayton, Ohio. Right? You're from Dayton, right?
Akron.
Akron. Oh, Rob's from Dayton. Yeah, my fault.
That's okay.
But like,
close by.
We
don't have the same DMV issues. Nobody would have They would have been like, whatever. He's from Ohio.
Word. But like, yeah, man, we all come a long way. But I'm just grateful.
And it shows. Let me just say that too. That's part of the reason why you're so like, people love you so much, and it's so like it just shows with the way that you are and the way you're around people, and like it's really a special quality.
Thanks, man.
Of course. So let me ask you this: so then you go through high school in Orlando. How did you do in high school? Did you fit in, like it, do well, hate it? Like, what was your vibe in high school?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of friends in high school. I think that I'm pretty much the same way now that I was in high school. I was just like loud, had a lot of jokes, like always ready to ride for something. But then also like spiritual, you know, still rock polo, still wearing Timbs, you know. But I think that I was a kid in high school that I've always been thoughtful. I've always like read a lot and had ideas about like how the world should be organized and how we should treat each other. I was always obsessed with that. Like even in high school, I would just on my own go read like John Locke's Social Contract Theory. I was just very interested in how people should treat each other and like the ideas of equality. But then I also was like a real troublemaker because I didn't think life was fair. And I had these ideas about what it should be, and because it wasn't, I would just lash out. I would lash out. I would beef a lot. And I think that I still have the same ideas. I have the same feelings, but I'm getting better and better at dealing with it and communicating it. And then also like being a leader and bringing people like, you know, inspiring those around me instead of being negative. You know?
Like how do you deal with that same, like, you know, that feeling of unfairness or that like just anger for generally how the world is sometimes? Like as an adult now, how do you channel it or not let it really affect you and still like be so positive?
I'm not positive all the time. Like I get caught up. I will get really upset when I think things are unfair. But once I have a moment to center myself, I accept the score, right? I think about a lot of things like basketball, or let's say boxing, right? So boxing, sometimes you spar somebody, and you're hitting them, and you're yo, he's gonna drop right now. I'm gonna set him up. I'm gonna step back, boom, straight left, hit him with the cross. He should drop. And sometimes the cat, he doesn't drop.
Yeah.
He's still there, and like, yo, you should drop. And even if they don't hit you back, even if they got nothing and they can't hurt you, you're like, why is this guy not dropping? Why is this sparring not over?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about the universe, which is just, you don't get to say how hard you need to work for what you want. If you want to win, you want to be successful, or you want to fulfill the promise on your life and like make your ancestors proud, sometimes you just got to keep giving and keep doing until you do it.
Yeah.
And there's not a like, I think I hit him enough.
Yeah.
I've never seen an athlete that I love go to a press conference and be like, I felt like we did enough to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what happened out there? Well, we did enough. And it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it that way, but you're right. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people work what they think is the right amount of work, and then they get angry and quit, and they lose.
Yeah. And you know,
Very common.
One of my favorite things like I've ever done is Wong's World, because it was just a band of brothers and sisters. Like, we got thrown in jail in Sicily. We got chased by like wild Sicilian white supremacists.
Really?
Yeah. And like, you know, we were in some really funky situations. We got tear gassed in Istanbul at a gay pride parade. Like, a lot of bad things happened. A lot of guests dropped out. A lot of people were like dicks where we went, you know, but we always persevered. And, you know, my favorite episode ever is like our DC episode, because we had planned to go to DC and do like an episode like coming home and showing people like Southeast DC and, you know, things that like I think are culturally important that DC's contributed to the world. Yeah. But then Trump got it was Trump's inauguration the same week, right? And it was going to be part of it. We knew it was the inauguration. We knew we were going to work that into the episode. But when the riots broke out the day of the Women's March, the riots broke out the day of the inauguration before the Women's March.
Got it.
And I remember there was like a car on fire and all these things were going on. And I called our producer. I was like, look, we need a team huddle. Everybody, like, let's meet in my room. So me, the producers, we met in the room and we just made a decision. We're like, we came here for one story. But clearly, like, things have changed. This is a lot worse than we ever thought. Like, this country's in worse shape than we ever thought it'd be in. Like, there is a real divide. And we were like, let's not fight what's going on. Let's not fight the footage. Like, let's hit the streets. Let's cancel a lot of the stuff we have planned. And let's just capture people's thoughts and feelings. Let's work double time. Let's work hard. Let's just go. Yeah. You know? And that's like the episode I'm most proud of. Yeah. Because everyone was just like, fuck it. We're going to work double time. We're not going to argue about it. Yeah. We're not going to like be upset that a lot of people's work just got thrown out the window. Yeah. We're going to keep going. We're going to do this because this is an important story to tell. And it's not our story. It's like the country's story. And I remember we set up this interview with Jared Taylor, that like alt-right guy. Got it. Yep. You know? Yep. And he had a lot of crazy things to say. And I like had a panic attack in the middle of the interview. Like, my neck and my shoulders were tightening and I was freaking out. And I remember my producer strategically sat diagonal from me because he knew there was going to be a moment where he had to calm me down. Because this dude was trying to talk to me about like genetic superiority and all these things. Yep. And I was really losing it. And I see my producer going. And I said to myself in that moment, this is what we came here for. Yeah. This is that moment. Like, I know my grandfather's watching. I know my parents will be proud. I know my brothers will be proud. But like, this is my moment to step up, calm down, and say to this guy what I think is right. Yeah. And that's what you did? I did it. And I feel like that is my best moment, probably like as a human being, as like a host, just whatever. Like, was that like 30-minute interview I did with that guy because I didn't get angry.
Yeah.
And at every other moment in my life, I probably would get angry.
What kept you mellow?
I just knew that if I got angry, that we were all gonna lose.
Yeah.
Like it would just be another time where alt-right, like white supremacists, got under some colored kid's skin
Yeah.
and like made him look crazy,
Yeah.
made him look like an alien fob. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna rise above this. I'm gonna stay calm and I'm gonna get you on the logic and the reasoning.
Yeah.
And I remember reading like Dante's Inferno as a kid, being like, yo, man, the gift that the animal of man, the gift that man has is like the gift of intellect and reason. And the worst crime would be to use intellect and reason for fraud.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what he was doing. And I was like, the only way to beat him is to use intellect and reason for good. And so I was just like, I'm going to mentally spar with this dude. I've been ready for this my whole life. Stay calm.
And how was it like, how was the final product? Was it everything you hoped it would be?
Yeah. It's online too. It's like a
I gotta
2-minute
watch
clip
it now.
online.
I
No,
haven't
it's all
seen
good.
that
We'll
one.
send it to you. It was like, it ended up being like Vice's most viewed content of the year. I think like
I bet.
25 million people watched it.
Jesus.
And I was getting emails and like WeChat messages from people in China, like, yo, you did us proud. Like my brother was in China and he was like, yo, man, like there's a lot of people that watched that interview and they're really proud that like a Chinese person went to America and stood up to this guy and like did the right thing.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I'm playing with house money after that.
I'm jealous of that, man. Like we just went to the gun march in DC
Yeah.
and just to see what it was like and just filmed it and whatever. And just because I have like a bit of a urge to like see these moments that are so big in what's going on in history and whatever. But I'm really jealous that that's the real deal, right? The gun march. No, but I'm just saying you went in the trenches. I played the safe part. But my question is, do you think that you could see yourself doing more stuff like that? Because I'm fascinated by that type of stuff. I've never been in that like heated of a moment or anything like that. I don't know that that's exactly where I want to go, but I am fascinated by being a part of the core of what's going on. Would you do more content like that?
I think that is like that is what interests me the most, and that's my calling. And the thing was like, you know, we were sold as a food show. So, you know, I love food and we got to do it. But there was also like contractual things at Vice where it was like, if it was news, it had to go to HBO.
Yeah.
You know, so like I couldn't do as much news as I wanted to within the show. And that's not Vice's fault. It's just like the contracts that were already existing, you know, and I'm not like complaining because I actually really loved being there.
Yeah.
That was my favorite place I've ever been,
Yeah.
you know, but like, no, like I want to do more of those interviews because I feel like that's what I'm meant to do. I have the mental makeup. I want to do it. And I really get upset when I hear people like on Fox News or on some of these radio interviews, like just saying things that don't make sense to incite people, to get people upset. So I would love to do a lot more of those like hard-hitting interviews.
Yeah, I hope you do.
Thanks, man.
I hope you do because I just love that type of stuff. And I didn't realize that in that episode you got like so in the belly of the beast, but I'm just fascinated by it. And I think that it's like, it's just not done very well, I don't think. Like the way that this stuff is covered, you know, meaning like just being, I would love to be at, even if it's Flint, Michigan, or even if it's like wherever this stuff is going on, or protests in Ferguson, or like just in the heart of it, and also give some sort of content or feedback that's like, yo, this is what it really truly is. Like there's no bias here. There's no like whatever. Like we are in this thing, like the raw, real version. Here's what's going on.
Because the goal for me wasn't to like go and argue and obliterate this dude. Like I actually started off the interview trying to understand him.
Yeah.
Because I have a belief that if you get to understand somebody, nobody's that crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's like
I
intentionally
think those guys
insane.
are though, right? Is that how you feel or no? I've seen a couple interviews, even like Oprah, where Oprah tried to sit down with people on both sides and say, look, let's just talk. Let's just have a dialogue. And it rarely works well.
I don't think he's insane. He was a really intelligent dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's fearful, and I think the fear turned into hate. And it's Star Wars. Like honestly, like there's two movies you probably need to watch in life: is Star Wars and Godfather. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and like
it's so true.
a lot of the things that you need to know about like mankind, they're in those two films.
Yeah.
But fear turns to hate, and once it turns to hate, then like you're a rap dog.
Yeah.
You know, like you're a rap. I think you lose all sense of like reason when it turns to hate.
Yeah. 100%.
So
That's crazy.
yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. how the hell you have a law degree?
Yeah.
How the hell? I remember back in Entourage days, right? When you were at the house
Yeah.
and Rob was listening, like, man, Eddie's the dopest dude ever, blah, blah, blah. He was a lawyer, he blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the hell? Because you had on one of your, like, probably baby blue jumpsuits.
Yeah.
And I was just crazy, but it's something that I've always just known about you, but never asked you about it. So, how the hell does a kid in high school that's listening to Wu-Tang and getting in a little bit of trouble and, like, whatever, end up getting a law degree?
Well, that's the thing too. Is one of the big things is I work a lot with my editor Chris Jackson at One World Books. Like he was my editor that published. Well, Chris was my editor that worked with me on Fresh Off the Boat, Double Cup Love, and one of the things I have dedicated my career to is to write in the language that I speak with my friends. And to not judge intelligence by language or coda, right? Because I think a lot of people feel like, hey, if you're smart, then you need to use like this type of English or like this academic style of English and these words. And from a young age, I saw as much wisdom in Biggie, Wu-Tang, Nas, Master P, as Shakespeare, and I read both of them. I mean, I listened to the music and I read Shakespeare. I read Herman Hesse. I read all these things. And I just saw a lot of parallels, a lot of parallel philosophy and ideals. So I never judged like whether I learned it from music or I learned it from books. And so that's a big thing for me is, I went to law school because I got in a lot of trouble. I used to like sell weed and whatever at my college. And I didn't really like the kids at college. It was like a wealthy liberal arts school. I went to University of Pittsburgh for a year.
Okay.
I didn't do well. And my parents were like, we're not paying for your college for you to like go get these grades in Pittsburgh. So they made me transfer back home to the school closest to like our house, which was Rollins College.
Got it.
It was the last one still accepting applications. I got in. I didn't like any of these kids because this was like the Orlando Country Club College, right? Fun fact though, Diplo was the college radio station DJ at the time, which was fly.
In Florida?
Orlando.
Oh, yeah. Did he live down there?
Yeah. He's a Florida dude. And then what happened was I was selling whatever I was selling in school and doing it with my high school friends. And we would just go to parties, post up in the stairwell, and just hustle and do our thing. And one of my friends got drunk and he was like, man, fuck these college kids. Fuck these frat dudes. And he broke the window. I was like, man, like, what'd you do that for? Because like, I didn't really like them either, but I wasn't just going to go bash windows. Of
course.
So I was like, all right, we got to go, man. We go outside. 16 dudes chase us out. And one guy, I get it, like, car comes up. I end up getting in the car, trying to get all my friends out. I'm like, let's go. My one friend that broke the window just stays there, and he keeps wanting to fight. And a dude pulls up with a tire iron to go hit him in the head. So I drove the car, hit a couple. I might have bumped a couple people. And then friends get in the car. I try to get away. They had called the cops. Like, we went on this wild chase. I end up face down in the street with an AR-15 on the back of my head. And I'm just like, yo, my life is a wrap. I'm done. And I was like, this is so stupid too, because like, we should have just got out of there. I was just trying to get out, and then this one guy tries to come hit my friend with a tire iron. I just got to ride for him.
Yeah, of course.
Right. But that changed my life. Like that moment, I was like, I cannot keep being like, I don't like the way the world is, so I'm gonna sell weed and I'm gonna be deviant. Fuck the world. I'm gonna pay my bills this way. Like that's not smart. That's immature. And I was like, you're not gonna get anywhere doing that. So luckily, I had a really cool PO, and I didn't end up going to jail. I got 3 years felony probation, and my PO was really cool. My professors were really cool too, because they spoke to the cops on my behalf, and they're like, look, this kid is writing like really fire essays and poetry in class. Like he has a gift and he gives like all of that in class every day. Like he's not a bad kid. He got in a really bad situation. And, like shouts to like Dr. Jones, Dr. O'Sullivan, Dr. Henton, like these, if it weren't for these professors, oh, Professor Offhammer. Like, if it wasn't for these people, these professors at this college sticking up for me, I would be a rap.
Yeah.
I would be a rap. But
That's crazy.
they did stick up for me. I started taking double the coursework everybody else was.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up graduating. I won the English Award of my school, the Women's Studies Award, the African American Studies Award. I won all the awards, and then I still couldn't get a job, like at a newspaper or writing. So I said to myself,
Why not?
well, there's a bad. I wrote about it in Fresh Off the Boat, but there was a weird racial situation. Like, I had written an article for the Orlando Sentinel that got put on page 2, and it was about the malice at the palace. I had like a lot of feelings. I was like, yo, if I was a bartender working in a bar and somebody comes in and throws a drink at me at work, the whole bar is fighting and the manager has my back.
Yeah.
I was like, these people threw drinks at Ron Artest and Ben Wallace and Jermaine O'Neal. Like, why is it okay to treat athletes like this?
Yeah.
And why is it on the radio today, like, everybody's calling these guys thugs and gorillas? I was like, what about the dude that threw the drink at him? He's a thug. And so I wrote this thing about like how like race really played into that moment in the NBA. And the Orlando Sentinel published it. And it was a rare opinion in that city. So the editor was like, yo, we love this article. We would like to offer you a job as like a freelance writer. Come on down. There's a contract on the table when I get there. I'm so excited. Dude walks in the conference room. He just looks at me. He goes, oh, no. I was like, what? And he's like, oh, no, like, nobody's going to interview with you with that face in local sports here. Nobody's going to interview with you with that face. I'm like, what do you mean by that face?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you know, like, you look young.
Oh,
and I
man.
was just like, I'm a college student.
Yeah.
You invited me down here. You liked my article. What gives? He's like, all right. I'm just telling you, I don't think you're gonna have much success interviewing people in college in local sports here. It's gonna be tough for you, because I was like, I'll cover high school sports.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'll give you a shot. One day, I get a phone call at like 4:30 in the morning. It's like like 1 or 2 rings. I wake up, I go to pick it up, hangs up. I try to call it back, and like it won't pick up. And it just leaves me a voicemail. Hey, it's the editor. I tried to give you a shot, tried to give you an article. You didn't pick up. Sorry. And that was it. And I was just like, all right, man.
What a joke.
Like, I don't think I'm going to have very good go of it in this town writing.
Yeah.
And then also I tried to apply for jobs. I always had to check the felony box.
Yep.
And so I said to myself, like, look, I need to rehabilitate myself, because as long as that box is being checked, like, no one's going to hire me. So I was like, but if I put a JD behind my name, or ESQ, like, maybe I'll get some respect. And so that was the full reason I went to law school. Was
That's
like,
crazy.
I'm going to pay my debt. I'm going to get this paper. So, it's like I'm a dog with papers. You know what I mean? Like a pit bull with papers,
Oh, man.
get a lot more money.
And that's just your natural instinct. Like, you're just like, that's how you solve problems the real real way, huh?
Yeah. I just see it. And I'm like, you're not going to get by in life with this flaw.
Yeah.
Like, and also, in a way, I felt it was karmic. Like, I just got to pay my dues. And you know what? Like, I loved law school. I loved the coursework. I didn't really like the social stuff, and I didn't really do well in a law firm, but I loved working at the Innocence Project. I ended up working there for a year.
And what did you do there?
Well, I was an intern for a year in the clinic at the Innocence Project, and they assign you cases, and you have to follow up and find the evidence, and then write the memos to the clerks and the judges to like try to get DNA testing for your clients. And I was lucky enough, like, from the work I did with this attorney, Vanessa Potkin, my favorite. We ended up getting testing for 2 dudes while I was at the Innocence Project. So
that's crazy.
It was really a really good experience, and one of those things. Yeah, where I felt like I did something positive with my education.
And did you know pretty quickly, like, you didn't want to keep pursuing it? Or like, did you never feel fully in place? Like, you know what I mean?
It was funny. Like, I won this competition. I won the New York City Minority Bar Fellowship my first year. Okay. And I was just a smart kid. And when I applied myself, I did well.
Yeah.
And the prize was that you got placed at a top 50 firm in New York City, and you got to like work as a summer associate.
Yeah.
And for my school, that was tough, because like, those jobs go to like the top 15 school kids.
Yeah.
You got to be in the top 10% of your class, top 15 schools. But through this fellowship that I won, I got placed at a big firm. But I remember going in like my first day, and I was very like, I'm proud of myself. I did this. I accomplished this. Excuse me. I won this fellowship and this job fair and square, so I don't have to dance. And this has been a thing in my whole life. And literally, I was like talking to wifey about it, talking to my best friend today, because I still just refuse to dance.
Yeah.
And I went in. I had the same fade I always had. I had a half moon in my head at the time, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, "Yo, you need to change your hair. You know, like not an acceptable haircut. You know." And then I remember my first paycheck. I was like, I'm gonna buy a suit. So I bought like a Dolce & Gabbana navy suit with lime green pinstripes. Like I still have the suit. It's a wild suit, but I thought it was fly at the time. And I remember this older Nigerian attorney who I love was just like, my brother. I love it. You love it. The firm doesn't love it. It's like, you can't be wearing a suit to work, you know? And it was just like a very harsh reality, but I would push it.
Yeah.
I would push it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I refused to accept that I had to look, dress, talk, and culturally subscribe to certain ideas and beliefs to succeed at my job. I was like, I should just be judged on the quality of my work. It should not matter like how I look or what I do. Like the paper is here. And it didn't work out for me. Like a lot of the attorneys, I will say, were really cool. Like a lot of dudes had my back. There was this one attorney, like Seven, who I loved. He's like a older attorney from Utah, and he really had my back, and he didn't mind that I was the way I was. He thought it was cool. We played fantasy sports together. And there was a few attorneys, but I always remember him. But like I learned there that even if you are really good at your job, like you could get canned just because you're culturally different. You know? And even in the press, and you see things like, you know, in entertainment, like the people who win the awards and stuff, it's not always like the best work. A lot of it is like, who does the culture with the most subscribers want to win?
Yeah, so true. That's so interesting too, because it's like, on one hand, in that, like if you could go back and be like a friend to you in that moment, your instinct might be to say like, yo, Eddie, like you're getting in your own way, you know, like clean up, like you've made it so far, blah, blah, blah. But by not doing that, you found way more of your true path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so like,
man.
what an interesting situation.
I'm glad you see that, man. Because
Yeah.
that's what I talk to my best friend, manager, attorney about. Like my best friend from law school is still my attorney and still my manager and
That's
he's
so
still my
good.
best friend.
That's so
you know,
dope.
Rafael Martinez, the best.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the thing he always tells me is like, man, like you gotta play the game a little bit. We gotta play the game. And I disagree with him sometimes. Sometimes I agree with him. But you're right. What you said is, if I had like assimilated and I had like compromised, I wouldn't be forced into being who I am now. And I wouldn't have had these opportunities, and I wouldn't have ended up selling buns in like a basement and doing BaoHaus. Like these were all last ditch efforts.
Yeah, and TV shows and interviews with white supremacists. Like imagine if you were just like an attorney in New York.
Dude, like that would suck.
Yeah.
You know, that would suck.
Yeah, we would not have the gift that is Eddie Huang.
Yeah, I
know
got
what I mean?
fired, and I ran into an attorney from the firm last week, and she was like, yo, it really worked out that you got fired.
Best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Damn it. It's
And I
so
remember
good.
she snitched on me, so I wasn't really happy to see her, but I was like, you're right, it did work out better for
Yeah,
me.
thanks a lot, Snitch.
Yeah.
That's funny. It's just funny to be able to look back and like see those things more as like the whole picture. You know what I mean? And be like, damn, that's an interesting lesson. Because at the time, like I said, it would just be like, yo, you need to shape up like you're on the right path, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I definitely think that I would take back some of my outbursts that are not authentic, some of my outbursts that are just reactions and like petty things and just like little anger. But like, I don't think I ever regret sticking to my guns and being myself with things that are true to me and like authentic to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you don't win by changing who you are. You know?
Yeah, I think the art form of it is as you get older, like knowing the difference between what's like an emotional reaction and what's you. You know what I mean? And that's nearly impossible. I mean, some you can only refine slowly, but in the moment they both feel the same.
Yeah.
It's not until later in hindsight you see the difference.
Yeah.
And so I think as we get older, it's trying to differentiate in the moment? Is this emotions or is this me staying true to who I am?
Yeah, my
what I mean?
editor Chris Jackson talks to me a lot about this, and he's like, Eddie, when you're just like firing off shots and being reactionary, being emotional, like whether it's on Twitter or some like little essay, he's like, you're not at your best.
Yeah.
You're being petty, you're being angry, you're being a little bit juvenile and immature. But when you sit down and you see like an injustice and you think about it and you center yourself, he's like, you're on some Batman shit.
Yeah.
He's like, when you wrote that article about like Steve Harvey,
Yeah.
you know, you wrote that article like after Prodigy passed. He's like, when you give us your real feelings and you really are honest and give it up, he's like, that's what Gotham needs.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's when you tap into that superpower.
yeah.
You know, or it's just like I said, it's so similar, but you can also tear yourself down with the emotional reaction. Like it's literally like it's what feeds you or what can kill you. It's both things, and they feel so similar.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think the litmus test for me for the last few years has been like, what are you giving people? Don't do things to give yourself. You can't give yourself gifts. Those aren't gifts. They're just purchases.
Yeah.
So with my writing, I always ask myself, like, are you giving people enough?
Yep.
If you're not giving them enough, don't put it out.
Yep.
I try and give people enough.
That's a good lesson in general.
Yeah.
Especially with everyone like making content and doing podcasts and doing like, I think that's a good question to sort of like to ask yourself before you do anything that you're putting out into the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are you giving people?
Yeah.
Like, are you making it better? Or are you copying people? Are you shark biting? You know what I mean? And like, you know, one of my favorite things working with you on the show is that like, I really saw you as like the Draymond Green of the squad, because it's like you'll run the baseline, you'll do the high post, like you're always giving, you're always passing, and like some of your stuff didn't make the cut, but I was like, yo, man, drama setup is what made this pop off.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah.
I like being Draymond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, it was.
We
fly.
found our niche there at the end.
It was good.
Like
bro.
we were really, man. It was
good.
cruising. We'll be back.
It was
we'll be back
good.
for another one.
It was.
So my next question is, how do you go? Like, man, this is the part that was always fascinating about you to me from the moment I was introduced to you, is the different lives that you've lived. And like getting a law degree is like no joke. It's not like, yo, I spent a year in Europe.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that's like some real shit.
Yeah.
So how do you go from being at a law firm, obviously getting your law degree, realizing it wasn't for you? Where do you go from there?
The day I got fired from the law firm, I will always remember, was March 10th, because I always remember that Cannabis lyric, the greatest rapper of all time, died on March 9th. So I had hosted this party with DJ Who Kid on the 9th. I show up to work late on the 10th, have mad cash in my pockets from the party, and they were like, please come down to HR, and I got fired. And
that was just because you didn't fit in. You wouldn't change. You wouldn't whatever.
It was also the like economic crash of 2009.
Yep.
For me, you know, I actually got a letter. They were like, look, we're actually doing you a favor. And I don't think any of the other associates got the letter, but they were like, this is not a, what did they say? This is not a merit-based termination. Like, this was not because of his skills. He like really did a great job. They gave me a letter when I was laid off so that I could get another job. So this law firm was actually really cool in the end.
Yeah.
And I don't think they even disliked me. They were just like, why can't he stop dressing the way he dresses and talking the way he talks
anymore.
You know?
Yeah.
And also it was the financial crash, so they let me go. You know? It was a number of factors. Like for me, I think it was the comments about the cultural things is why I chose not to go back into a law firm. I actually don't think it was why they fired me, but it may have played into like between me and another kid. They're like, well, we have this issue with Eddie. You know what I mean? Like
the guy with the fade.
Who knows, man? Yeah, the guy with the fade. We have the guy with the fade. And even though we love him, it was funny because I felt like the people at the firm loved me. They were just afraid of what clients and other people thought, which is an interesting thing. It's like, it's like sometimes you hear dudes who actually like love a woman or a woman that loves a dude, and they're like, I love this person, but I keep them secret because I'm afraid of like what other people would think of them. And I'm like, yo, man, stop it, Five. Like, if you love this person, you love this person. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. That plays a huge role in people's decisions.
Yeah. And I think that's one of like the most disgusting feelings to ever like encounter. But regardless, I get fired on March 10th. I go home. My office mate got fired too, and he was super pissed. He's from Saudi Arabia. We used to smoke mad weed together. I would sell him weed. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so pissed, man. I came to this country. I worked so hard, and they fucking fired me. Can you believe this?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. This was the greatest economic crash of our time. Of course we're getting fired.
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy?"
Yeah.
And of everyone, people were crying, taking their boxes out. I was like, fine. I just like threw all my shit in the garbage.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna smoke weed, and then I'm gonna make a list of what I want to do with my life because I have rehabilitated myself. I never wanted to be an attorney. I got the piece of paper I needed. I worked at a top 50 firm. No one can say shit to me anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like it's proven I have the aptitude and I have the skills, and I have a piece of paper that says I was laid off, and it's not like because of my work." And I got high and I made this list of what my dream jobs were.
What were they?
Number 1 was to quarterback the Washington football team, right? Number 2 was to be point guard of the Knicks.
Yep.
Number 3 was to be a stand-up comedian because I always looked up to Eddie Murphy. Like my real name is Edwin, and we called me Eddie because of like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Me and my dad
Damn,
just
what the
loved coming to
hell?
America.
Okay.
And then number 4 was I wanted to make a movie, right? And number 5 was I wanted to like own a streetwear line.
Yep.
And the cool thing was like, oh, and I think 6 was a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And the thing with number 5 was like, I already had it. I had this brand called Bergdorf Hoodman, and I was printing Obama tees. And that's how like I met Who Kid and I met all these other people downtown. And I was making shirts for Ghostface. So even at the law firm, I was very deep in the streetwear.
Yeah.
I was printing shirts. I started off selling them on the train. Then Marianne at Union, New York, picked up my shirts. That was huge. Nima at Digital Gravel picked up my shirts. And that got me through a lot of hard times.
Yeah.
And I got high that day. I made the list. I'm like, all right, man, worst comes to worst. I got a streetwear line that's number 5 on the list. I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's look at the other things on the list. I can't be the quarterback of the Washington football team. I can't be the point guard of the Knicks. But I could probably be a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's start with number 3.
Yeah.
I got high. I walked the 15 blocks from Canal and Mulberry to, I believe it was Ludlow and Houston.
Okay.
And I walked to the Laugh Lounge. There's a comedy club called the Laugh Lounge.
Was it that night?
That night.
Okay.
All right, the same day I got fired. I walk into the Laugh Lounge around like 5 o'clock. I'm like, "Yo, who's the owner?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" Right? And I'm like, "Yo, I want to talk to the owner."
Yeah.
They're like, "What do you want to talk to about?" I was like, "I'm going to be a comedian." And they're like, "Yo, you're wild." And the owner ended up being this woman, Delilah from the Bronx,
Okay.
who was super cool. And she didn't think I was crazy. She's like, "You're kind of funny." You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like,
Like, yeah, this
you know,
is funny.
comedy is supposed to be like, you're supposed to be funny. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be a little bit off the wall.
Like, yo, I'm a high attorney that just got fired.
Yeah.
I want to come in here and be funny.
Yeah. And she didn't laugh me out. She was like, "Listen, we do a bringer show, like Thursdays. You bring 5 people, you get 5 minutes on stage."
Yeah.
I was like, "What if I bring 10 people?" She's like, "You get 5 minutes on stage." You know? And so I go the next week and I bring 5 people and I do my first 5-minute set. And that week, what I did was I got one of those flip cams at the time. Remember the flip
Yeah,
cam?
I do.
So I had my shorty at the time film me over and over, doing my set, practicing, watching, deleting. And I was like, all right. And then I go and I do my 5-minute set. And they were like, "Yo, that was funny."
Really?
And they were like, "That was really good."
Oh, man, it seems terrifying
Yeah.
to get on stage for the
Oh,
first
yo,
time.
your heart is racing. You're going crazy. But what was funny was I was just like, I'm going to ride this dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I was just, I'm going to ride this energy. I'm going to use it. And I was a maniac, pacing around the stage, like whipping the cord.
Yeah.
Like you could see how nervous and energetic I was, but I just used it.
Yep.
And it was like loud, rambunctious. And she was like, "That's your first time?" I was like, "That's my first time." She's like, "You got something.
Yeah.
You got something. There's like, something's number 1 is wrong with you, but also you're funny."
Yeah.
And yeah. And then I just believed in it,
Yeah.
you know? And so then I was like, "Hey, what if I bring 30 people or 50 people? Can I get my own show?" She's like, "You can bring 50 people here?" I was like, I think I can bring 50 people. She's like, if you can bring 50 people, then you can have the opener show Thursday night before Ashy Larry. And I was like, word. So I started making flyers. I was like, I can do it once a month. I think once a month I can bring 50 people.
Yeah.
And so I had all my friends downtown, Chinatown, Brooklyn, Queens. I had these, it was the General Ills show. We took like the General Mills logo and just called it General Ills.
Yep.
And then I got a bunch of comics together. This Dominican homie Imagine.
Yeah.
And we just did our show, man. Sergio Chacon, he was my homie too. He had like a short finger.
Yeah.
So his hand, he could do the Nike swoosh with his fingers.
Yeah.
And that was his big joke.
Yeah.
So Sergio was there. And I still box with Sergio at Overthrow Gym.
Yeah.
But like, we were all just downtown cats running around the LES. And I was like, yo, let's do this show Thursdays. First Thursday of every month, I had General Ills.
For how long?
It went 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and it was going really good. Tons of people were coming. I was getting better and better, and I was crazy. I was writing a new set every time.
Jesus.
And the older comics were like, yo, you're wild. Like, first of all, you're just starting, and you're doing like 10, 15, 20-minute sets. Like,
Yeah.
you need to slow down.
Yeah.
Perfect like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't care, man. I write this shit in my sleep. Like, I just want to keep doing it.
Yep.
And I'm going to pull the jokes from all the different sets that I like eventually. But I want to try things first because I don't know enough to perfect anything.
Yeah.
Then I got like a coach. I did some shows at Gotham Comedy. And there was a coach that was like, you're too energetic. Your energy's distracting. You can't be running around the stage and that. She goes, I want you to do a show on the stool. Just don't move. Just sit on the stool and do it and be controlled. And like, according to the book, I understand what she was saying.
Yeah.
And there's credence to it.
Yeah.
Because I was like a boxer who was a wild pressure fighter that just threw tons of punches.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is kind of my personality.
Yep.
And so she was like, sit still and do it. And I bombed.
Really?
I bombed because then all my nervousness just stuck.
Yeah.
And there was no fun. There was no energy. I wasn't moving. And I just froze. And I bombed so bad, I never wanted to get up again.
Oh, man.
I got up one more time because my dad came to New York to see it.
Yep.
So I did a show at like Stand Up New York. And then dude, it was so embarrassing. It was so bad.
Really? Like,
Yeah.
you think that single-handedly killed the dream?
It did, and also other opportunities came up.
Yeah.
Because there was other managers there that were like, I would go by, I started off going by Magic Dong Wong. And then, so I was Magic Dong Wong. And then I would start bringing chicken wings and fried rice to the show.
Yeah.
And so the other Dominican homies like Sergio and Imagine would call me Duck Sauce. And they had me go do Latin Quarter shows and bring like the chicken wings and fried rice.
Yeah.
And they'd always like, yo, we got a little Chinese homie Duck Sauce coming up. Because it was like a weird thing to have an Asian comic.
Yeah.
I was like the only one rolling with all these brothers, you
Yeah.
know? So my nickname was Duck Sauce. And one of their managers was like, yo, Duck Sauce, you should like hit Craigslist and try to get on like Food Network or something, man. Like get on Food Network. And they're like, you got this food thing going on. Just do it. It's funny.
Yeah.
So I would go on Craigslist and there's like, little did I know, mad casting for shows, like Food Network shows, Ultimate Recipe Showdown.
Really?
And I asked other comics, like, wait, so you guys just go on Craigslist and look for these things? Like, yeah, man, you just go to auditions, like try to get on TV and be funny. So I got on Ultimate Recipe Showdown, made it to the finals, lost, but people in the crowd just kept being like, yo, you're funny, you're hilarious, we love your energy, like,
Yeah.
don't stop doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I could keep being a comic, and I knew a lot of really good comics who'd been comics for 15 years.
Yep.
And I was like, that's a hard business.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect comics the most. It's just like you have to go around town, get up 5 times a night,
Oh, yeah.
make maybe $600.
And put your whole, like, pride on the line. You know, or
Every
like, you're
night.
like, oh, it's a brutal thing.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And I was talking to like successful comics. They're like, yeah, man, like you're lucky if you get to go tour the US, make like $30,000 one summer.
Yep.
And I was like, how long did it take you to do that? 9 years.
Jesus.
And I was just like, this is a real grind.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I see a better route to this.
Yep.
Because I saw a lot of resistance as an Asian comic, right? And I noticed Americans understood Asians as chefs. Like chefs were getting famous.
Like, that's
at
something
the
they
time.
could understand.
I was like, yo, people understand like us being good at food.
Yeah.
They will accept us being good at food. They expect us to be good at food.
That's interesting.
And I was like, I don't need to be on a stage to like say what I want to say.
Yeah.
I can tell my story through a restaurant. And I was also at the time like, we're cool now, but I really didn't like David Chang or Momofuku, you know? And I still don't really like the food there because, you know, they've called it like new American food for a long time. And I was like, dude, these are like your versions of Korean food or your versions of Chinese food. And like, I get it, you're American and you identify very much as Korean American, but like, you also can't cut off the history from like the motherland.
Yeah.
And I think he's done a much better job recently of being like, hey, this is a boiled chicken dish, but the inspiration is Hainan chicken. Right. And I think it's just a very important thing that you give the credit to where you got your inspiration and idea from. Right. But I remember he came out with this pork bun and everybody was like, yo, he invented the pork bun. I was like, that's a Taiwanese dish. That's been in the night market since the 50s. And I just saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity and also I was upset. And this is one of those moments like I seized where I was like, don't just be reactionary and mad. Don't just like go shouting on Twitter. Why don't you bring that bao to downtown New York that matters so much to you? If you think you can do better, then why don't you make a better bao than this guy?
Did anyone help you have that thought? Like that's such a the perfect way to handle. You know what I mean?
So I really didn't like David Chang because I felt like he was whitewashing our food. And I felt like he didn't even like being Korean. And when I did Ultimate Recipe Showdown, I did chairman red cooked skirt steak on rice. Because we always eat things on rice. Like I would eat red cooked pork on rice. So I did like red cooked beef on rice. And that was the recipe I submitted. And that's what like they liked. But my buddy George Zhao, and I haven't seen George in a long time, but George was really into food. And George and I always disagreed because George was into like the downtown chef scene. I never went to the chef restaurants. I would go to Flushing. I would eat in Chinatown. I would eat in Brooklyn. Like I don't like the chefy, trendy restaurants. And Food Network actually hit me and was like, yo, this is the party food episode. So we need to make the food ambulatory. Like the rice bowl, it doesn't feel like a party food. Even though it's authentic or whatever, like it doesn't feel like a party food. And I was like, fuck, man, like, do I make it like beef sushi? Like, what do I do? Do I make it a rice bowl? Because like rice balls are a big thing in Taiwan too. I was like, maybe I'll make it a rice bowl. And I remember George just saying, he's like, yo, man, I know you really don't like David Chang and Momofuku, but this dish is from your country. Just be proud of it and do it. Put it in the bao. Like, do it for the episode. Just put it in the bao. And it's one of the few times I've compromised in my life. And I owe a lot to that moment. I owe a lot to this homie, George Zhao. Because if it wasn't for George saying to me, like, just bow to the bow. I wouldn't be where I am. But you know what? Sometimes it's like you can have all the talent in the world, but what gets you across is humility. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, then I opened the restaurant and I was like, all right, cool. So I did the bow on the show, but what I'm going to do and what I want to bank, like, my restaurant on here on Rivington Street in the Lower East Side is the original, authentic Taiwanese pork belly bao. And so we did that. And once cats got a taste of it, they were like, holy shit. Like, it's not just roasted pork with hoisin sauce and 2 cucumbers. Like, this is, you braised it for 3 hours with all these spices, and it feels like what we eat at home. And, you know, I was like, you know, we have it's like David Chang's story and mine. Like, I always see us as like this interesting story. He's from Northern Virginia too. And we're just different. Like, he talks a lot about like not wanting to be Korean and rejecting it for a long time. Like, I know how that feels. Because it's tough to be Asian in America growing up. Like, sometimes you're just like, fuck, why do I have to be an alien? Why do I have to be different? But like, that trip to Taiwan my dad took me on just made me proud. And I was like, I'm never going to deny this. This is who I am. And I'm going to tell our story here. And like, the older I've gotten, the more I've watched his career. I watched Ugly Delicious. Like, you know, on our show, I came home and I did Chinese New Year with my mom and cooked. Then I see him go home on his show, like, Thanksgiving and cooks with his mom.
Yeah.
At first I saw, I was like, yo, son, like you're in my laundry.
Yeah.
But also he may see it as like, yo, well, I did this pork bun thing and you were in my laundry.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's like game recognized game.
Yeah.
But like once I watched the show and listened to him, I'm like, yo, we are two brothers that like really were faced with a similar problem and a similar issue growing up in this country, in the same place, around the same time.
Yeah.
And like there's just two paths,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I respect him, and I really enjoy following his career now.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily love the show Ugly Delicious. I have opinions. We're just different. Like I have opinions about his restaurant. I have opinions about his show. But what I love is like I'm very interested in him as a person.
Yep.
And so it's been cool to see him open up and reveal his life to people.
Yeah.
Because I think he's been a very enigmatic character.
Yeah.
And like the two dudes on television that I find interesting right now is I watch his show and I watch Donald Glover on Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, and like I feel like, you know, Atlanta is masterful.
It's incredible.
I don't know if Ugly Delicious is masterful. Like, I mean, there's like 4 people hosting every episode. But what I like is when Dave reveals who he is and you get to like see him struggle with identity and struggle with his like values with food. And I think like he's a really interesting dude.
Yeah.
Like he will always be interesting to people.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that in a lot of stories, like having an enemy or like even just one direct competition ends up being an extremely valuable piece of someone's success because that was the thing that kept you pushing. You know, like you have something to measure yourself against and always be trying to one up. And it's almost like you look back at it and you're like, oh, damn, that forced me to do all this shit that I might not have done. You know what I mean? So like it's just interesting that maybe he played that role in like the restaurant part of your life.
Yeah.
And so the restaurant, when you first launched it, got incredible feedback.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like,
yeah, it was like the pork bun wars because he was the hottest #1 chef in New York City, and people were just like, he invented this thing, and I came out as a nobody. I had not worked in any New York kitchens. I only worked in Orlando, and they were like, "Who the fuck is this kid that's like his shit sucks?"
Yeah,
and like was doing his own version and bringing this authentic Taiwanese bao to downtown. But I think my greatest innovation was that, like, I treated the restaurant like a skate shop. I would let people smoke weed in the restaurant. I would let cats loiter. I would give kids food after school. I would play mixtapes. And like, I remember the only hip hop you would hear in restaurants was like Juicy, Electric Relaxation, or You Got Me. Those are like the 3 acceptable restaurant hip hop songs.
so true.
And it upset me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm playing Jeezy, I'm playing the Clips, I'm playing all the Dipset Cameron, like City of God, Max B, everything. You know?
Yeah.
And heads were coming and they were just like, yo, who is this kid? Like, he's breaking all the rules.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He's also like representing his country. On the wall were photos of my grandparents and parents. And I was just like, I'm going to tell you my story from China to Taiwan to DC to Orlando to New York.
Yeah.
And like all of it through this $4 sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's so good.
I was like, I'm not cutting the hip hop out. I'm not cutting the streetwear out. No one's going to wear uniforms. Like, everything that made me who I am is in this space.
Yeah.
And
it worked.
Yeah. It's an institution, you know?
Too good. How do you go from that? Okay, so let me ask you this. Was that like making you enough money to be like, you didn't have to worry about where money was going to come from during that period?
Oh, no, we didn't make, like, dude, we got audited for taxes that year too because me and my brother just kept all the cash in a shoebox.
Yeah.
We were like a cash business and all we had were receipts. Like, we had to like, I remember we went to like, was it Hewlett Jackson? Hewitt Jackson, the accountants?
Oh, yeah.
I went there. I was like, yo, what do we do? And they're like, you have a shoebox of money and receipts. Like, what do you mean? What do you do with this? I'm like, I don't know what to do. And like, we had to do all our taxes and we had to get right.
Yeah.
And no, we struggled because we were running an inefficient business the first year. Because when we started, we only had like, I think $17,000 to open a restaurant. And it was somewhere between 17 and 30, right? And it was just me and my brother working in the beginning, and our friends would come help out after work for free, right? People would come wash dishes. People would just work the register. Like, everybody worked for free.
Yeah.
Because they were just they're like, Eddie, that's all the money he had from selling weed in the law firm. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And my brother and I worked 7 days a week, 16-hour shifts for the first like 4 months. Just insane.
Yeah.
And I gained a lot of weight in that time. I gained like 15 pounds. I got really unhealthy. But then we like hired employees and like we really did it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then it was like 2011 that we moved from Rivington Street because it was only like 400 square feet.
Got it.
We moved to 14th Street. It was enough space. We had an efficient operation, and that's when it like really broke bread.
Is that where it's at now?
Yep,
Got
14th
it.
Street.
And then, how do you become TV star Eddie? Like, how the hell does that, like, there's another transition.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, one of the dudes I always looked up to was Tony Bourdain because like Tony Bourdain was just honest.
Yeah.
Like I love Charles Barkley on TV and I love Tony Bourdain.
Yeah, he's so good.
And Tony would give it to you straight. I never felt like he was lying to me.
Yep.
And I was like, yo, I love what Tony's doing. He's going around to people that are silenced or forgotten and like putting a microphone in front of them and being like, the world needs to hear your story.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, yo, this is interesting. But if I was doing the show, like it would be a little bit more youth cultural.
Yeah.
And also I felt like I could bring a different perspective in interviews around the world because of like my identity and my background.
Yeah.
And I could ask different questions. And I was like, I really do think that there needs to be a bookend to what Tony is doing.
Yeah.
Because he's done everything he can from his perspective.
Yeah.
You know, his like downtown LES, punk rock, Thompson Park days, you know, like, and I love his perspective.
Yeah.
He is absolutely like the godfather of the shit.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, if we can do a television quality show on the internet and we're going to do this and we're going to have more freedom.
Yeah.
And I can be on the bang bus.
Yeah.
I could do whatever crazy shit I want. I could film in a bootleg mall.
Yeah.
And
how did you get to Vice? Like how'd you even go pitch it?
well, what happened was I had a show at Cooking Channel that they wanted to pick up. And at Cooking Channel, they were, you know, they would tell you like what to say on set.
Yeah.
They would have lines, a lot of setups. You know how that is.
Yep.
And I just knew from the shoot, I was like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But I also, because I know I don't want to be here and I know they've spent the money on the pilot, I'm going to do what I want and be me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just said whatever I wanted. I didn't listen to the producers. I just did my shit. And like you and Rob have experienced this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where I'm just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm off the reservation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But when they got in the edit, they were like, yo, this is gold. And they aired it as a backdoor pilot on Cooking Channel in 2012. And it rated so high. It was like, I think the second rated show for the first episode, like across their whole week. So they made me an offer for like 6 episodes. And I remember I really liked the dude there. This guy, Brian Lando, was the one that offered me the deal. And I really liked him. But I knew like there was only so much freedom he could give me at that channel.
Yeah.
It's a Scripps network.
Yeah.
You know, very conservative company. So, you know, Vice had asked me to do an episode of like Chef's Night Out. So I did like Chef's Night Out Munchies. I got along with them and I was like, yo, this is really cool. So then I met up Eddie Moretti at this place, Colette in Williamsburg. I remember, I think he got a fried chicken salad. I got a spaghetti bolognese. And I just told him, like, look, here's the deal from Cooking Channel. You don't have to pay me as much, but I want to own my show and I need freedom.
Yeah.
And he's like, we will give you all the creative freedom at Vice. That's what we do. Like, we're artist friendly.
Yeah.
And like, we just don't pay that much money. And like, that's always been Vice's
That's
MO.
it. Yep.
But I was like, fuck it, I'll ride with you.
Yeah.
And he saw it in me. And, you know, thanks to Eddie and like Shane Smith always believing in me, they just let me go. And they let me do my thing.
And it just took off.
They just went off.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then like, did that just change? Did that change your life, for lack of a less dramatic way to say it? I mean, did that make you like that guy?
Yeah, like that and Fresh Off the Boat. When I wrote the book Fresh Off the Boat, like 2013 was just a hot year.
Did you write that book in the same year?
Yeah, I wrote I wrote Fresh Off the Boat and filmed the first season of Wong's World. I wrote the book Fresh Off the Boat and filmed the first season of Fresh Off the Boat online, all in 2012.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And then those two things just took off at the same time, and that just catapults you into another world.
Yeah. Then life got really, really crazy.
Yeah.
You know, life got really crazy, and I think that like I've been dealing with it ever since.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm really happy with the decisions I've made outside of work.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like my crib is still in Fort Greene.
Yeah.
I live downtown LA.
Yeah.
I got real friends. You know, I play in the same basketball leagues.
Yeah.
I pop out. I'll do some Hollywood shit if it's a friend's.
Yep.
I'll support. But for the most part, like, I got the same friends.
Yeah, you do a good job at that. Like we were talking about, I ran into you last night at a restaurant, and you were with a group of friends. You brought your own wine. And just eating mussels all night.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And just like a nice, like whatever that was, Los Feliz, whatever that area is.
Yeah.
Just having a nice normal dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, damn, Eddie like has like real solid, like this is a solid, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
You gotta come kick it with us, man.
I would love to.
But yeah, I
man.
bring my wine everywhere, like,
Yeah.
and I it like brings in the same like camouflage bag or whatever, and then, you know, I'm always in K-Town. Like cats always catch me in K-Town.
Yep.
You know, I'm always walking like to Little Tokyo. I'm in the SGV a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, man. You just gotta find your people.
Yeah.
It's really, and it's also really important to like know who you are and just like not feel like you gotta be anybody else.
Yeah. Do you ever get too into like Hollywood events, or maybe you have a couple nights of whatever and you feel a couple nights of like some Hollywood shit and you get that like private school gated community feeling again, and you're like, damn, I got to go back to the public school for a little bit.
Dude, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, the worst parties are the music manager parties. You know what I mean? When it's like, you know, half the crowd is music managers.
Yeah.
And agents. And
There's
like,
some
I mean,
brutal
I love
ones.
my agents. You know what I mean? But like my agents ain't at these parties.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Like
Yeah.
if I want to party, I want to be like with my people, with the community, culturally similar,
Yep.
or culturally different, whatever. But like people that are there to party.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, yeah.
No,
the
it
Hollywood thing
does.
is weird,
You
man.
just search for the realness, right? Like
Yeah.
it just sounds like you have a very strong like connection to real shit, and when you feel it drifting, you know to come back to it.
Yeah, I
know what
tell
I mean?
people all the time, like, look, if you want to do business, just tell me you want to do business.
Yeah.
Because if it makes dollars, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And we can do business.
Yeah.
But if you want to be friends, let me know. Because, like, I got a lot to give.
Yep.
But if you're not genuine about being friends, I'm going to know from jump.
Yep.
And I'm just going to ice you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you got a strong detector.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Strong fake friend detector.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I used to have a basketball run at my crib,
Yeah.
but people would start to bring, like, other actors or other managers or whatever. And I was like, yo, this is not the networking run.
Yeah.
This is real homies. Like we're here to be friends and play basketball.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to do business, like just email me.
Yep. 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 Do you have
Right?
anything that you do now to like get out of like put yourself back into, like you said, one thing you like about New York is just letting life kind of hit you, you know, and being in like an uncomfortable situation and growing and whatever. Like, do you do anything, travel or anything that you do to like force yourself if you're feeling like stagnant or anything like that?
I mean, I fight a lot at the gym, like
Mhm.
sparring.
Mhm.
You know, I love sparring.
Yeah.
And like I spar probably more in New York. It's easier to find sparring in New York. I spar with my homie Edgar, you know, Santana, who trains me, and he was a champ at one point, so he takes it easy on me. But like,
Yeah.
I love sparring with Edgar. I spar with my homie Julian out here in LA. I play basketball. Like sports, I sound like a broken record, but
Yeah.
for me, it's really sports. And then, you know, I do love to cook, man.
Yeah.
Like I love when I get a chance to cook for friends.
Yep.
Like that always brings me back. And you know, I do travel. I love the Caribbean.
Uh-huh.
You know, we go to the Caribbean a lot.
Yeah.
You know, Jamaica,
Yeah.
Trinidad.
That's my type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't like traveling to like cities. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm not a like, let's go to London, let's go to Paris. I love Paris.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm not a city dude. Like when I travel, we
Yeah.
live in cities. So I like nature.
Yep.
And I really like to see how the world could have been.
Yeah.
Like, this is super nerdy.
Yeah.
But I think about Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, what would the world be like without mercantilism? So it's like, I like to travel to isolated places that like capitalism is barely touched.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's pretty much touched everywhere.
Yeah.
But there are those places that have been touched lighter than others.
Yeah.
You know.
What are you reading now? Is there anything you're reading now or that you're on that type of stuff now that's like got you inspired?
Yeah. Oh, this book I read. It's an older book. It's from I think it's like 99 or something. But it won the National Book Award in like the late 90s. It's Hajin Waiting, right? It's an amazing book.
Yeah.
Uh,
I gotta start hitting you up for book recommendations. You
Oh.
got like a whole different genre than like what I'm in.
oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I like
I
it.
read different weird books.
I need that.
And I'm not the fastest reader. I don't read that many, but I'm targeted, right? And
Yeah.
like, you know, I think Juno Diaz is the best writer in the world. He's my favorite. His like recent New Yorker piece, like I think I cried reading it on the toilet.
Really?
Yeah.
Love it.
And like I just think he's the most powerful Jedi in the universe.
Yeah.
But
I gotta read it. I've never read any of his stuff.
yeah, it's for me. I love reading Juno. I love reading Hajin.
Yep.
And then like, you know, I'll read old Joan Didion and stuff.
Yeah.
I like to go back. I don't like that many writers,
Yeah.
but the writers that are really great, I just read over and over and
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Like Marlon James has The History of Seven Killings. That is really good. It's a huge, monstrous book I didn't finish, but like I will go just to like peep game, check the technique,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But Juno and Hajin and Joan Didion, I get lost in.
Really.
I read them and I just get lost. I love those books.
Yeah.
You know,
So good. Where do you go from here?
I'm making movies. I wrote a script. You know, like
God damn, how many things on the list? Have you done all but 1 and 2?
everything, but everything,
Put a
but
quarterback in there?
quarterback for the Washington football team and point guard of the Knicks.
Yeah.
And I
not
did
a bad ratio.
no, and I did hit a 3 at the Garden. We had like a
did?
pickup. We had like a little like celebrity game.
Yeah.
And like I definitely wet DJ Clue with the 3
There
from
you
the
go.
wing.
That's like crossing off half of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Clue gave me buckets, but I did hit one.
Damn it.
I hit
that's
one.
good.
My boy Rocky passed me the ball on the wing. I hit it on the break. Boom.
Talk about like setting some goals and like getting out there and doing it. Like, especially to have like whatever 7, 6, whatever, that were so different. And you like literally are just like, bam, 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 got it.
Yeah.
So what's up with the movies? What are you doing with movies?
Yeah, so I wrote this script called Boogie about a high school basketball player. And really a lot of it is about the relationship between mother, father, and son.
Yep.
And how much of your ancestry determines who you are today.
Yep.
Like how much of your past do you bring with you and how much of your future are you creating yourself?
Yep.
And, you know, land it in a basketball story in New York, high school. And it's with like focus features, the script is.
Yep.
And I'm going through like a rewrite right now, but I love that. And for me, I don't have like specific goals, like I'm going to make this money or I'm going to do this thing. Like obviously the biggest thing for me is to make that film. I want to see it done and I want to see it done the right way. But, you know, when I like lose myself and lose my center, like Julie always just talks to me and she's like, all right, man, just remind yourself, what is it you want?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's not that you need money. It's not that you need like accolades. It's not that you need like a single project. What is it you want? And she knows the answer every time. I'm just like, I want to make my ancestors proud and I want to do work in its most honest form.
Yeah.
Like I just want to make truthful, honest work.
Yeah.
And I think I've been true to that.
Do you feel when your work gets pulled away from the honesty that you try to shut it down instantly?
Yeah.
Or how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest failure is just like, you know, when I just get angry.
Yeah.
You know, and like obviously I didn't like Fresh Off the Boat on ABC and like
For that reason? Because it got pulled away from honest work?
the one thing like that I really disagreed with the studio and the producer of the show was that, you know, they would always say to me, we need to do a family sitcom where the problem is solved in 22 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it. But what about like shows like Wonder Years or My So-Called Life? Like the pain wasn't ripped out of those shows. The pain was allowed to stay in it.
Yep.
And those were the shows that I really loved growing up. And I was telling them, I watch all these other shows on TV. Fresh Off the Boat was a book from a kid who didn't have a family that was like the ones on TV.
Yep.
But what you're doing is you're taking the heart of this.
Yep.
You're taking the skin, literally like Asian faces and the hip hop, and you're placing it on top of a stereotypical nuclear family. And it really bothered me because I was like, dude, a lot of kids like me grow up with domestic violence, grow up with like a lot of heartache, and they don't have anything to watch. They don't have anything to relate to. And I didn't write this book so it could just become vanilla again and become this stereotypical family that is like, hey, if you're not us, then you're an alien and you're fucked up. And so that's the core of like my beef with it, because I didn't believe that we had to be a stereotype to be successful. And they did. They made a stereotypical Chinese family.
Yeah, I get that. So how did it end? Like, did it end with you leaving and they kept doing it, or?
I'm still like, I still get checks as a producer, but we just have an agreement where like, I don't show up.
Got it.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
like,
that's great.
I mean, thank you to them. You know what I mean? But like,
protect your sanity though, you know? Like, it's good that you're able to just be like, you know what? This isn't for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do my thing.
And they were, you know, Natch and Melvin were cool because they're like, look, this is your book. This is your shit. We're not going to like fuck with your bread. Yeah. But we probably don't need you to be showing up.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
and
great.
I'm like, fair.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Shoot the fair one.
Okay, so my big deep question was, what I try to put into perspective is like, there are these moments in our lives that in the middle of them seem like the world's over. Like the worst thing ever. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. This could collapse my whole thing, whatever. And then when you really look back on it, it's the greatest gift. It caused the pivot, you know, whether it's getting fired from the law firm or getting arrested because of the college thing or whatever it is. Like, do you have a favorite one of those that you look back on in that way?
I'm going to give you one that like I haven't talked about that much in interviews. And it's a really funny one that I think a lot of kids can relate to. And my mom was always good at math. And the stereotype and what people always told me were like, yo, Chinese kids, you're going to be good at math. You got to be good at it. And I was like pretty good all the way up until elementary school. And I remember like in 8th grade, we had to take like a trigonometry class. All right. I was in a school where we took trigonometry in 8th grade and I got like a C- on a test. And I was like, holy shit, like I've never done this bad on a test. Because my parents, like, they would kick my ass if I didn't get an A. And I was like, first of all, I might die. But number 2, like, I might be stupid. And I remember going to my mom and like, look, I know you got to do what you got to do. Like, I know I'm going to get hit for this. But I just want you to know, I think I might be stupid. And she's like, what? And that was the moment where she realized that like all of her parenting and my dad's parenting had like really broken me in a way.
And what was her reaction?
She laughed and she was like, she actually didn't hit me for like the first time for getting such a bad grade. And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're my son. There's no way you're stupid. I was like, no, Mom, I'm telling you, like, I think I'm stupid because I really actually tried and I studied and like, I got a C-. Like, I don't think I can do better. And she's like, so what's the solution? And I was like, I don't know, Mom. I think I'm dumb. And she just said to me, if you think you're dumb, then you might as well just kill yourself. Right? If you don't think you can do anything and you think you're dumb, then I guess you're going to quit, right? And I was like, I don't know. I'm really scared. I think so. And she goes, no, that's not the answer. You can't sit here thinking about whether you're smart or not. You just spend the rest of your life working as hard as you can to get the most out of what you have. But I will tell you something. I promise you, you're not stupid. And like, I just studied and studied. And the next test, I got like an A-. And I was like, holy shit, like hard work pays off. And so it was a funny little math test. I really thought I was stupid. And I used to, you know, this same insecurity comes in a lot of things. Like, because I was short and because I was fat and because I wasn't that fast, I was really insecure on a basketball court too. I was like, I'm gonna just play defense and set screens. I want to be in the game. I want to contribute, but like, I shouldn't shoot because I'm not good. And you know, like, I started playing, I got better, and like, my homie Farnold is like, dude, you're actually good. You need to be aggressive. Like, your problem is you're not transferring the personality and the aggressiveness and that like winning mentality you have off the court onto the court. Because you think you suck here. And the 2 places I was always the most insecure was playing ball and dating. Because also, like, growing up, a lot of people like just say like Asian men aren't attractive. Asian men got small penises. I was just like, yo, my shit must be trash. Like I don't want anybody to see this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember once reading a Maxim magazine article and they had this graph of like, penis size by race.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And I was like, oh my God. And I looked at it and they said like the average penis size for humans was like 6 inches. So I was like, all right, man. And I remember.
Did you go get a ruler?
Dude, I remember because I had
incredible.
opened a bank account at Washington Mutual.
Yeah.
I had a plastic Washington Mutual ruler. And I'm there with this
The
ruler.
moment of truth.
And I was like nervous. I get my dick hard and I measure it. I'm like, oh shit.
Good.
I'm good. I got like a little bit over 6. I'm just like, it's like barely like the tip just goes over 6. I was like, oh shit. And I was like, I'm all right.
Yeah.
But like,
What a moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like being able to find out you're actually not stupid. Like if you can measure it.
yeah.
If you're like, I think I'm stupid. Hold on, let me measure it. No, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But even if you 5, like, it's cool, fam.
Yeah, you're
Like,
still in the game.
You're gonna find something to scoop with,
Yeah.
But like the thing is like that moment with my mom taught me, and like I relapsed and I thought about it before, but it's like, don't worry about how much talent you have.
Yeah.
Because you can't change the raw material. And like whatever you think you don't have, you have something else in its place. Like I genuinely tell kids and I tell everybody in the world, it's like Street Fighter, bro. Every character has the same amount of hit points. It's just distributed differently. And you just have to know where your talent lies, where your advantages are, and play the game your way.
What's crazy to me is like the only time you're actually stupid is when you accept that you're stupid. Like then you're stupid. Like the only time you're bad at dating is when you accept that you're bad at dating, right? Like it's only when you mentally get conquered by the thought, is it true?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just, it's just about having that like ability to push through, man. And to like, I think that's something that I guess what I'm trying to put into words is like, I wish that was taught more. Like, I think young people are labeled really quickly. And the moment you're labeled young, it's hard to break out of that. Like you kind of like, that starts to define you. You know what I mean? Whether it's by bad teachers or by whatever it is. I just think that that's a very flawed like sort of system about how we judge and rate and even grade people in schools, right?
Yeah. I think the thing is a lot of the things we don't like about ourselves and other people in general are all reactions to fear and insecurity.
Yeah.
And I think like, I know the best date I ever went on was with her, you know what I mean? And like what it was is very simple. Somebody made you feel understood and made you feel safe enough to like be yourself and reveal who you are without any of the like insecurities or chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And like when you find somebody that brings out the best in you and makes you comfortable with who you are, like that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Know that difference. I'm guessing. I don't have a fiance or wife, but I'm guessing you just feel it.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? What do people look out for? Like, where do you want to send these?
You want my
people?
address? No.
Yeah. I want to know
Nah,
exactly
man,
where
like-
downtown you live.
Yeah.
Where do you like to eat dinner?
No, man. I mean, I'm at BaoHaus Far East Plaza
Yep.
in Chinatown in LA.
And you want to expand?
Yeah, we're gonna expand.
Yeah.
We also got BaoHaus on 14th Street in New York.
Yep.
Instagram, Mr. Eddie Wong.
Yep.
But like, if you downtown, if you in the SGV, if you're in Brooklyn, you're downtown New York, like you're gonna find me. I'm around.
And hopefully Amazingness season 2.
Yo, hopefully amazing this season too.
Yeah,
man.
for those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
Eddie and I are on a TV show together
Yo.
on MTV, and I think we'll be coming back soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We don't really know.
I mean, get Rob back. Let's get the official date.
We're ready. Thank you, man. I really appreciate this. And one thing that I appreciate you so much for, especially in this, like I've known this about you kind of, but like I said, like this gives you the chance to dig a little deeper and whatever, is like not only the fact that you went through like the hardships and the things the struggle that you went through to become who you are, right? Not only I just have so much respect for that and so inspiring, but the fact that you continue to pass those messages along so authentically and look out for the next kid who maybe feels lost or doesn't feel like he fits in, or like the fact that you do that so flawlessly and truthfully and like whatever is just like something that's really inspiring and something that really is motivating me as I'm sitting here to be like, man, what am I staying true to? Like, who am I looking out for? So Thank you for that.
Thank you, man.
You're the man, Eddie.
Dude, the podcast is fire. Like, I know at the beginnings of shows you like the ratings, so
Yeah.
I have like my one homie Caduce in DC.
Yes.
He is a podcast fiend. Like
so
he's my
dope.
go-to guy. He always says his favorite podcast is Stretch and Bob,
Yep.
your podcast,
Yep.
Bodega Boys, and Joe Budden's.
So good.
Those are his joints.
That's a good list to be a part of.
Those are his
But I will
joints.
say, I need to try to take that number one spot.
You need
from
a
your
number
boy.
one
You know what I
spot.
mean? I got to step it up
You
a
need
little
a
bit.
number
I need
one
him to be
spot.
like, yo,
Stretch and Bob are tough, but the thing is, you do have a longer podcast.
Yeah.
You get more per episode.
yeah.
Right, but Stretch and Bob are legends too.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to
I
work
love
on
them.
it. Something that gives me something to shoot for.
Yeah. No,
You're the man, Eddie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
That's a wrap.
That was fun.
All right, there you have it. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it. Like I said, it's so nice to be able to sit with someone that you've known for a little bit and had some fun with and hung out with and be able to really go through their story and actually find out where they came from and how they became the way that they are. And then to record that little conversation, put it into podcast form and send it out to the world. I hope you guys liked it. As always, hit me up on Instagram @drama. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know who else you'd like to see. Keep screenshotting and posting the show. Tag me in those. Tag me with the podcast playing on your iPod, your iPhone, your Android, whatever you have. We're on Stitcher now. We're on Castbox. We're everywhere where podcasts are, I think. Leave me some positive feedback on the iTunes store. 40% off all full price items on Young and Reckless with the promo code SSL. And go follow my YouTube page, please. youtube.com/drama. Thank you guys. I will be back next. Guys, if you like that and you want to see more like it, as well as vlogs, other web series, and all the random stuff that I'm doing here on YouTube, don't forget to click that subscribe button. You won't regret it, I promise.